Tonight, house prices rise in regional South Australia despite the economic impact of coronavirus. And a new trainee program launched on the York Peninsula.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studio, your nightly news with Tom Johnson begins now.
Good evening. A new study has found regional South Australia's property market has seen a spike in property values over the past year. The core logic figures show despite the financial impacts of COVID-19, houses and rental properties are in high demand.
Going once, going twice, sold. This Whyalla real estate agent is seeing strong demand for local housing.
So we've been really surprised the last 6 months by the strength of the market. Once the COVID environment arrived, we expected a bit of a downturn from the previous 12 months. We've seen the opposite.
Over the month of November, we saw regional South Australian properties increased 1.1%. Values were up 2.1% in the quarter and up 6.4% over the year.
Mr Udding says the middle to high-end market is selling stronger than the less expensive properties. GFG's purchase of the Whyalla Steelworks being credited for the results.
A lot of it's reflective of the sale of the steelworks to GFG. I think also the last 6 months has highlighted regional SA is probably a good place to be. More space around us, less congestion.
And it's not the only increase, with the rental market also booming. Whyalla seeing a limited number of properties available for people looking to lease.
The rental market here in Whyalla is really strong. If you're a landlord, not so good if you're a prospective tenant. A lot of that's been driven by the new school project.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
South Australia has recorded another day of 0 coronavirus cases, but we are still being urged to get tested. It's the 4th day in a row the state has gone coronavirus-free, nearly 3 weeks after the Parafield cluster was first detected. More than 6,000 tests for the virus were conducted yesterday. The state government is continuing to encourage the use of face masks across the state in order to reduce the risk of spreading the disease. Getting flights from country New South Wales to the city will soon become much easier, with Rex confirming it'll start flights between Melbourne and Sydney from March. The new move creating an air link between Broken Hill and Victoria, something which was lost during the pandemic.
From turboprop to twin jet, a new chapter in Australian aviation will soon take off.
We're now going to move into the domestic market flying between Sydney and Melbourne on the 1st of March.
Rex today confirming its capital city service will begin in March, initially targeting one of the busiest routes in the world. They're confident they'll be able to make inroads.
Rex has got a lot of experience at running its airline. We've done this in various forms for nearly 70 years.
In a boost for Broken Hill residents, they now have a link to Melbourne.
Check their bag in, check themselves in, get their baggage on the plane, and they won't have to pick it up until they reach their destination.
Local travel agents see the expansion as an opportunity to jumpstart their business after an extremely difficult year.
It might start to increase some demand, especially out of Broken Hill as well. We haven't been able to have a service through to Melbourne for quite a while.
Coronavirus forcing many flight routes around the country to be dropped, including Broken Hill to Mildura. The company adamant their expansion is funded by capital investment and not from cuts.
Rex went from having an average of 5,500 passengers a day to having an average of 120 passengers a day in 2 weeks.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Copper Coast businesses are being urged to consider employing trainees as part of the state government's Skilling SA program. The region's mayor is welcoming the initiative and hopes it'll entice younger workers to the region.
Skilling the future generation of the Copper Coast. Local leaders say this initiative couldn't have come at a better time.
Perhaps employ a trainee or apprentice. With the government incentives, it's a really good time to think about increasing your workforce and creating more employment.
Instead of losing a generation, they can stay here, they can study, and they can have some pathways to employment as we go forward.
The Chamber of Commerce, working hand in hand with Council, recently meeting with the Innovation Minister to discuss the program.
For us to go to see Minister Pisoni to discuss ways that we can perhaps encourage more employment in the regions, and particularly our region.
It's hoped future trainees will make the community their home.
We've got a lot to offer, but we need to make sure that they have options for a job long term, not just short term. So that's what we're trying to do.
COVID-19 is changing the way some businesses operate, and the Mayor says this could be an advantage.
We're thinking that people may like to relocate to a region, i.e. the Copper Coast, and perhaps set up business here, because you can do your business from anywhere.
Business owners interested in learning more are being urged to get in contact.
Please inquire into the traineeships. Fraser Ellis has put the word out, so we will be organising a meeting soon.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The health of the Menindee Lakes appears to be improving, with a recent survey finding juvenile golden perch in the area after the fish bred upstream at the start of the year. Murray cod has also been found in lower parts of the Darling. Since September, 9 gigalitres of water has been released into the river to increase its flow and support fish repopulating efforts after mass deaths in recent years. Fish spawning is expected to increase, with normal water flow resuming by the end of this month. Well, still to come tonight, Broken Hill's premier race day to return in 2021. And Wyalla's arts community receives new funding. Welcome back. The biggest event on Broken Hill's sporting calendar will return next year, with St Pat's Races organisers confirming a date. Organisers are hopeful the event will still be a success, even with a reduced program and smaller crowd.
This year's St Pat's race was run by the skin of its teeth, and that's off the track. Run on March 14th, it was just days before coronavirus restrictions were introduced.
A lot of people didn't go because of the COVID-19 situation. Weather-wise, we had a shocking day.
The 2021 event will take place on March 13 with a range of safety measures in place. All tickets must be pre-booked with details provided for contact tracing. Spectators will need to be seated, and there'll be a smaller crowd and racing program. It will be different, but organisers remain optimistic about the event's success.
We're not looking at increasing prices. We just have to do things along the new normal lines.
Those in the industry welcoming the chance to get back on track.
Yeah, very happy, mate, very happy. I bought a horse especially for it. People are starving for something to happen in Broken Hill, mate. There's no footy, there's no nothing all year.
With many spectators travelling from interstate, it'll be a shot in the arm for local tourism.
And if they can travel somewhere and tie that travel experience in with an event such as St Pat's, well then hopefully we'll see our caravan parks fill up.
All that's left to do now is tell the horses.
As long as they put a spread on worth $20,000 or more, I'll have a horse in that'll probably carry 66 kilos.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Wyalla's art community will be busy next year, with 6 new community projects announced today. Made possible through a federal government funding initiative, the Steel Cities artists received a quarter of the grants awarded to regional South Australia.
These local artists and project organisers are all smiles after securing federal government grants.
Very excited in this round to have a quarter of the grants that went out to regional South Australia come to Whyalla.
The first project involves technology, with a team developing an app showcasing the city's best tourism attractions.
It's a walking tour, so as you walk around you can access stories. So really my role is collating those stories and finding people who have really strong connections to place around Whyalla.
Richard Parker's project involves developing a series of workshops called Unbroken,
which is focused on engaging with people who have a lived experience of domestic violence.
Local artist Olivia White is the lead in 2 different projects. The first, a 3-week pop-up in the main street with Kish Collective, and the second, a 6-week oil painting workshop with the Whyalla Art Group.
Taking them through exactly how I would construct a portrait so that they can do their own.
Community Manu's Yarning Group also receiving funding, as well as Defaces, who are planning to create a film.
We're really excited to do it.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Lincoln's library has received a generous donation of more than $1,000 worth of books from a local car club. The group is hoping the 21 new titles will spark interest in classic cars within the local community.
From motorcycles to muscle cars and the classics, a bundle of new books now line the shelves at Port Lincoln's library.
They are here for use of everybody.
21 new titles worth more than $1,000 being donated, helping further boost the selection for local car lovers.
Absolutely thrilled with the generous donation from the Lincoln Auto Club, these fabulous books.
Port Lincoln's Auto Car Club hoping the selection will spark an interest in cars for the local community.
We think there's a good cross-section of information which will appeal to certainly people that are interested in automobiles.
I think it's fantastic to have this influx of new titles. I think it's really going to refresh the collection. We're really thrilled.
The books were sourced from overseas and in Australia and are all brand new. It's a fresh breath of air for the car community after a tough year. The club show and shine event planned for January was scrapped today, robbing them one of their biggest events.
Too many restrictions and just too much for us to handle.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. Port Augusta residents discuss physical and mental well-being at a workshop that's next. Plus, the region's cricketers prepare to pad up as local sport recommences. Hello again. Connected Beginnings Port Augusta hosted its first free workshop today with health and wellbeing on the agenda. Facilitated by Deadly Thinking, participants have praised the program for giving them the tools to help others in the community.
Bringing the community together through Deadly Thinking.
Deadly Thinking is a mental health program targeted at Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to help support mental health issues that the community may be facing and how they can find local supports within the community.
Today's free workshop offering the tools and techniques to tackle mental health in the community.
So we've been looking at support mechanisms, so looking at 5 people that you can go to. We've been looking at mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, suicide, grief and loss.
Organised by Port Augusta's Connected Beginnings, residents say the information will make a difference in the city.
Having this training and being able to educate the people that are here today, that allows them to go out there and pass that knowledge that we've learnt today on to others.
Participants encouraging the community to attend the next one.
Come and do it, it'd be beneficial for everybody.
Come along and learn new things and it'll be good and rewarding in the end.
If you or someone you know needs help, contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Kadeena's Youth Drop-In Centre is busier than ever, clocking over 1,600 visits since opening in 2018. It's helped the town's younger generation during tough times, with local residents being encouraged to consider volunteering.
A safe space for those who need it most. This Kadeena Youth Centre has been a welcomed addition for the town.
The change in the kids. I mean, we've had parents contact us and say, we don't know what you do there, but whatever it is, it's impacting positively on the whole family. It's really good.
Locals say the centre's development is a full community effort. Hub attendees also leaving their mark, helping a local artist paint this mural,
which was painted by Julie Cheshire, a local artist. They've helped us create the atmosphere and that in here. It was really great.
The hub is busier than ever despite some COVID-19 restrictions affecting opening times.
1,600 visitations, and we will probably have had about our 300th volunteer come in.
This space isn't just used as a youth drop-in centre, but also for other community groups such as the Copper Coast Gay Straight Alliance.
There's a training centre on a regular basis for running lifeline workshops such as accidental counselling.
With a need for more volunteers, residents are encouraged to reach out.
The job is not very hard. They usually sit around, have a tea or a coffee, and they're there to talk to the kids.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Augusta's Swim Centre is now open for recreational swimming following the relaxing of coronavirus restrictions. It had previously been restricted to hosted trainings. 50 swimmers are permitted in the main pool, 24 in the medium and 20 in the toddler pool. COVID rules are still in place, with patrons asked to observe them. South Australia's cricket season is set to make a return this weekend after a 2-week break due to the paraffin cluster scare. Clubs say they're eager to get back out into the middle, with all leagues following strict government guidelines to make sure everyone stays safe.
After a 2-week hiatus, the sound of Leather on Willow will return.
Good to get back out there after a couple of weeks of uncertainty. We weren't real sure how the season was going to finish, so I think everyone's looking forward to getting back out there again.
South Australia's cricket competitions were forced to scrap games for the second time this year due to the Parafield cluster. Authorities yesterday giving the green light for sport to resume.
You play cricket for 30 years using a certain set of rules, and then all of a sudden it's changed it, but we've been adapting on the go and we've been getting by.
Port Lincoln's clubs are eager to get back out on the turf. It will be a different world, however, with strict SA Health guidelines in place to prevent another outbreak.
Using the COVID Safe app, they'll be monitoring everyone who attends all games and trainings.
Organisers hoping to avoid a repeat of last season where they were forced to cancel the grand final.
We hope there's no more outbreaks and we can continue the rest of the season without too many other dramas.
The first ball will be bowled this Saturday with Charlton facing Tasman. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll check in on the latest fuel prices across the region and we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Hello again. Well, it's time to check in on our region's prices at the Bowser. Here's Lachlan Itter with Fuel Watch.
Well, with most of our borders now open, there'll be plenty of people heading off to catch up with their families soon. And the good news is, if you're heading off this week, you're in luck. Local fuel prices are relatively stable. Starting with unleaded, there's a lot of red there, but it's not as scary as it looks, with most rises this week minimal. Port Lincoln, Whyalla, Port Augusta and Port Pirie have seen jumps, but we're only talking by a couple of cents. Whyalla has the biggest jump, up to around $1.20. If you're heading into the city, prices there have jumped 5 cents up to $1.10. No changes in pricing for Kadina and Broken Hill. Over to diesel, and it's pretty much the same story with small jumps across the board. Broken Hill and Adelaide have recorded the biggest increases, up to $1.28 and $1.10 respectively. Port Pirie steady and the cheapest in our region, just shy of $1.15. Finally to Autogas, and there's almost no change here compared to this time last week. Most areas have held their price as well. Adelaide and Port Lincoln have had tiny increases of less than a cent. If you're heading into the city, fill up there for the best price. It's under 70 cents a litre. Remember, of course, that these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do spot unleaded, diesel or Autogas for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
And with a look at what's happening in the weather over the next few days, here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Tom, and good evening. Mainly fine conditions across the region. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta was 25, Clare got to a top of 22, cloud clearing in Coffin Bay, a top of 19. It was 21 in Whyalla, 20 in Kadina, Cleve and Port Lincoln. Port Pirie and Woodna both mostly sunny, 25 degrees. Broken Hill and Adelaide, highs of 19. To the satellite image now, a cloud band extending across northern and eastern SA with a trough is triggering showers and the odd thunderstorm, clearer to the west and south under a high pressure ridge. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southwesterly to southeasterly winds reaching up to 25 knots in the late afternoon. Seas will peak around 1 metre with south to southwesterly swell up to 3 metres. Sunny across the region tomorrow, 25 in Port Lincoln, Cleve set to reach a high of 29, Woodna 32. Whyalla and Kadina will have tops of 29, 32 the maximum for Port Augusta. Port Pirie will reach 30 degrees, 28 in Clare and 31 degrees in Broken Hill. Taking a look further through the week now, temperatures will be warmer with mainly fine conditions on Friday. 39 the top for Cooper Pedy, Port Augusta and Woodna will have highs of 38, 35 degrees for Port Pirie and Broken Hill and 33 degrees for Kadina and Adelaide. Windy conditions and a few showers for Saturday, 33 and windy for Cooper Pedy. Broken Hill will be windy also with 37, showers and 30 degrees in Whyalla, the same for Adelaide. And conditions will start to clear slightly on Sunday. Cooper Pedy will be mainly fine and 29 degrees. Similar conditions in Broken Hill with 27 degrees. Woodna and Port Pirie will have partly cloudy conditions with tops of 21. So it's not looking like ideal conditions for the return of the cricket this weekend, Tom. That's all the weather from me tonight. It's back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Alex. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure joining your news service again after my stint in Broken Hill a couple of years ago. Tomorrow night, John Hunt will join you again for all of your local news. Thank you so much for joining us. I will be back later with updates. But until then, on behalf of the entire team, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.